Hi, so I am back from Greece and Croatia, and I'm so excited. So, going to Greece and Croatia, just taking a break, having a summer part to that, and being able to run my storage facilities remotely, as well as look at deals from my acquisition manager was incredible. So, when you are an owner and an operator, it's always fun to kind of see yourself check all the boxes, do all the checklists, and then watch your team just kill it and crush it. So that was a great time. And so just coming back with so much gratitude and I think just being really refreshed. So I wanted to come on here and really talk about a really big subject that I get a lot of questions from. And this is like what is seller financing? Like how do you use seller financing in self-storage? And so I really want to kind of peel back the layers today and then walk you guys through like how we turned $50,000 into a $1.2 million storage cash cow. And so this is something that is really passionate to me is I want to show you guys that it is BS when people say that they have to have thousands of dollars and they have to have a perfect credit score and they have to have an MBA to buy a storage facility. And I want to say like that is all BS, right? And so I always like to say like I started as a personal trainer. I owned a gym. And you guys, if I can buy a storage facility and operate and manage it, anyone else can. So how we turned $50,000 into a $1.2 million storage cash cow, and it's because we use the seller's money, not our own. Okay. And so what this is, especially right now, like seller financing is your superpower. So it is your absolute superpower because you guys, banks are slow right now. There is high interest rates. They have been literally the same for the past year. And so sellers want out. They are tired. They are wanting to retire and they are, like, you know what? I'm ready to offload the storage facility that I've owned for, 8 years, and I'm ready to go fishing or move to a different state and be with my grandkids. And so I want to talk you through an example on how we use seller financing to buy a $500,000 storage facility, which is, you guys, very comparable to a $500,000 which is like almost around the average price in California, is a $500,000 house in Sacramento, which I have purchased, and also buying a storage facility for $500,000. And what do you get from both of them? Okay. So this is very, very possible. And so why seller financing is your cheat code, you guys, is here's the truth that no one tells you about. So the best deals are the ones where the seller becomes the bank. So they absolutely become the bank, and that is seller financing. That means that you are not paying a bank, right, to, actually loan you money. You're actually paying the seller to loan you money. And they are going to make a 4%, 5%, or even a 7% return on that money as an interest rate. Seller financing, you guys, means the seller carries the loan instead of a bank. You pay them monthly, right? It means your down payment is possibly smaller and can be negotiated. And this is your superpower. It means that instead of, you guys, right now, a traditional bank is 35%. Instead of 35%, you can negotiate a 10 to 15% down payment without having to go through the SBA, which is Small Business Association loan, which is so crazy to go through, and has a lot of different thresholds that you have to, and barriers that you have to jump through. And then you can negotiate, right, your terms. So if you give them their purchase price, you better get your terms to help you in that deal so that you can cash flow and then 2 times your money, within 3 to 5 years. So in the storage school, we always call this buying businesses and commercial real estate with invisible money. So self-storage, seller financing is the cheat code, which means that you get to buy a business and commercial real estate with invisible money. So this is something that we're going to kind of walk through as an example. And I hope you guys, this is showing up on Facebook. But if it's not, that is okay too. So if you can send me a little DM if this is working. Let's see if it is. Okay, I think it is. Okay, so but what I want to do is kind of go through one of my real deal examples. And so I want to walk you through this. This is a facility. It's not in a fancy urban market. It doesn't have a ridiculous population, like over 20,000 people. It actually has a population of 7,000, which is really small. It's a smaller rural area. And so it also is around 11,000 square feet. So a small mom and pop owner that we actually reached out to through a wholesaler. And it was a pastor that was like, you know what, I am ready to retire. They were mom and pop owned. They were older. They had owned it for 8 to 10 years. There was no website. There was a cash box, like literally a cash box on site where people literally had to drive by, put their cash into it every single month and in an envelope, and then do it again, right? And so that is when you're drooling. Rent was under market by 20% day one. And then also being able to call and say, hey, you own this facility outright. Would you be open to being the bank if we came to a negotiation and came to an agreement based on your purchase price, if we could have our terms? And he said yes. And the real reason he said yes, you guys, is because we understood his motivation. And his motivation wasn't about, getting the highest purchase price possible. His motivation was, hey, I'm retired. I'm retiring. My wife and I want to move to North Carolina and we want to be close to our grandkids. I don't want to pay Uncle Sam. I actually hate paying taxes. So I want to see how we can keep more of our money. And then also he was more interested in, his motivation was more interested in a monthly check than a giant lump sum of money. And this is seller financing. This is the perfect equation, you guys, for seller financing. But if we did not ask him these questions of, hey, what are you going to do with the money afterwards? What is your plan on retiring? How do you feel about X? We would have never known. Okay. So important is making sure that you ask when you're doing the negotiation and let them tell you. Okay. So the facility's numbers, when we bought it, the facility was grossing right now. It was grossing when we purchased it, $4,900 a month in revenue. Today we have pushed it 62% increase. Today we are at $8,000 a month gross. Okay. And we plan on pushing it another $2,000 a month in the next year and a half. Okay. By adding portable units and then also by raising the rates another 10%, which the market can bear. Okay. So I wanted to show you guys this 62% didn't happen overnight. It happened over a 4-year time frame. First year in 2021, when we purchased it, we increased the rates 22%. Year 2022, we increased it about 14%. And then year 2023, increased it 6%. And then in 2024, we actually increased it 20%. So this is, you can see this over time, where the market can bear, what is the supply and demand, how are people using the product, where we are in the market. And this is something that's really important, especially when you buy a mom and pop storage facility, you see the value and then you force that appreciation, right? So that's how you create forced appreciation. You're not just buying real estate, you're buying a business that you see value in, that you're like, hey, Mr. Owner took it to here and they were fine with it. Now I'm going to buy it and I am going to push rates. I am going to implement a website. I'm going to do all these value add things for the customer's experience so that I can 2 times my money, right? So now we're going to kind of talk about, this is another big piece, is people don't think about the benefits of seller financing. So I have done an SBA loan, right? And SBA loan took me 8-9 months and we paid a lot of fees. They asked me for my second child. I feel like every real estate that I owned, every single thing that I possibly have in my little arsenal, and they wanted it all. And so seller financing is fantastic because it ultimately reduces your risk. And this is important, right? Because the asset is backed by real estate. And so banks want to know your blood type. They want to know your firstborn child. Sellers want, just their mailbox money. Like that is what they want. Seller financing, this is how it reduces your risk. Number one, less cash out of your pocket equals less risk. So we purchased this facility for $500,000. We put a $50,000 down payment, a 5% interest on that for a 7-year balloon. And so we only had to come out of pocket 10%. So reduced our risk and then leveraged our money. And the second thing, terms are flexible. So you can negotiate your terms based on how you want to cash flow the storage facility and how you want the success to be seen by implementing the business plan. Right. And so this is really, really important. It does not put you in a bind. In this one, we were not able to come to terms with interest only payments, but that is something that you can do, which is really helpful, especially to get the business going. But the third thing is no balloon payments from commercial banks are hanging over your head. Every 5 years in a commercial bank, just refixes to the rate that it's currently at, prime plus one, right? Or whatever the bank has at that point in time. So at 7 years, we have a 7-year balloon. That is when we either need to refinance or we need to exit, right? So that is so important. It reduces your risk. Seller financing reduces your risk always. That is important. And then I want to talk about the value add magic, you guys. This is how we call it the cowboy roundup in storage. You can take a $500,000 storage facility and you can turn it into $1.1 million. That's 2xing your money. And it's ridiculous. And that is where you say, just make money. That is the whole point here. So what I tell my storage school students is the money is the upside and not the listed price. And so even though the facility was only worth like $550,000 when we purchased it, we saw the upside. We saw that the owner had not put a website in place. We saw that they had not raised rates in 3 years, that they had a cash box, that they were running it not remotely. They had someone that was actually there part-time, zero marketing, and it was on one of the main streets. And so there was a lot of opportunity. And so we saw the revenue opportunity from taking it from here, which was $4,900 gross a month, to we can take it to $8,000 gross a month, and possibly add portable units to take it to 10,000 gross a month. And that, you guys, that is the spread. That is the spread. That is the most important part. I'm like, that is the spread. That is money. That is how you make money, is by looking at, is there a spread on the table where I can add value to where it is currently at today? Okay. So that is something that is really big. Now we're going to talk about the real returns here. Okay. So just to summarize, put a nice little bow onto this. So we bought the facility for $500,000. The plan is to sell it for $1.2 million at a 7 cap in spring of 2026 or spring of 2027. You can also refinance, which means that you can go back to the bank, refinance it, take money out, and go do it again. In this case, because this facility is smaller, we want to exit. We want to sell, leaving a little bit of value add to be had, and go get 1031 that money to a larger facility where we can do the exact same thing and build your net worth. So this is kind of the summary. Is we bought it for 500,000. We are going to sell at 1.1, 1.2, based on the market, minus the $500,000 purchase price, right, of currently of what we've already paid down. That's around, I'm going to give you guys an estimate, about $550,000 of equity gained. Okay. So that is huge. That is how you build your net worth and do it over again. So if you look at that, the equity multiplier in a business, you take $600,000 divided by $50,000, which is what we put in to that facility, is pretty much a 12x return on your equity alone, which is tremendous. This facility also cash flows, depending on it's seasonal, right? You've got seasons where we have ins and outs based on this facility, and we're cash flowing after our expenses and our mortgage and our loan around $3,000 to $4,000 a month of pure profit and expenses. And so for a smaller facility, that's pretty darn good. That's around $42,000 of cash flow, a year. So that is fantastic with room to grow. So I just wanted to kind of go through some of these numbers and how it can be very powerful to, number one, find off-market storage deals. That is your superpower. If you can negotiate, drive for dollars, find an off-market storage facility, negotiate with the owner, that is huge. That is literally, you are now bringing a skill set to someone, and you can possibly come into that deal with 0 to none of your own money. I have a storage school student right now who drove for dollars, and an hour and a half from his house, he's a firefighter. He has not only one storage facility under contract with that owner, he went and talked to the owner next door, and now he has 2 facilities under contract under a purchase and sale agreement. And so he's taking down 2 facilities, and that is absolutely incredible. So don't underestimate the driving for dollars, having real conversations, and really building relationships. Like, that's what it comes down to, is building relationships with owners, because they are people. They want their business baby to go to someone else who is going to continue that lineage in that community, because that has been their livelihood for 8 to 10 years. And it's really, really important that sometimes it's not always the purchase price. It's who's the best person to offload my business to, who's going to take care of my customers and the community that I have a business in, right? So that is really big and huge. So why self-storage, you guys? In the end, like, why is it so powerful? And this is the reason why, is because, you guys, we still have no tenants calling you and clogging toilets at midnight. There is no leaky roofs. There is no like single family rentals. And there is no tenants, and we do not have employees. We run this facility remotely. And so normally that is less problems, right? So in a beautiful world, we want less problems. We don't want toilets. We don't want tenants. And we want to make sure that we have cash flow flowing. And we also have our net worth working as well, so that you can 1031 and go do it again, right? And go build that net worth, build your empire by buying not just one, because it's not about one facility, it's about a few. We want to own a couple of storage facilities that cash flow and give off wealth for the future. I had a friend the other day, no, a guest speaker, and she came and talked to the storage school students, and she was so funny. She's like, I want a storage facility for, her goal is to have a facility for every child that she has, plus herself and her husband, and then one storage facility each for her grandparents, so that that can be a lineage, a legacy, as well as a cash flow machine when they go to retire. I was like, that is so smart. I love that. I love how she had it for each one of her children and her grandparents, because retirement is expensive now in the US. So we have the best of both worlds, especially when you buy commercial real estate and you buy a business. You've got the cash flow, you've got the equity that you're building up, and then you also get to play the tax game with depreciation, especially right now when we now might have, actually we have 100% depreciation back on the table, which is going to be huge, you guys, for wiping out people's W-2, possibly their income, and helping. Always talk to your CPA about this. But I love being able to own real estate and have depreciation applied to my taxes. So that is how you build wealth. So I just wanted to kind of like wrap this up. And I think this is really a great subject. Is I feel like a trigger word right now. Everyone's talking about seller financing, but this is really, if you get to learn this, this is your cheat code. This is your cheat code to going out there, leveraging your down payment, your money into that deal, taking risk off the table, and then also being able to find those value add facilities that you can leverage and increase rates over time so that you can double your money. So small money can control big assets. And that's what I want. I talk with my students right now. It's not always about buying the larger storage facilities. Right now, there is a lot of opportunity with mom and pop storage facilities that are maybe 10,000 square feet and below. And REITs are looking at this in rural areas and starting to buy them. And that's where we need to look as well, because people are moving from urban areas in the city where it's oversupplied, overdeveloped, into rural areas where they have more space, they have more time, and they have their more money pretty much, and they get out of the hustle and bustle. And so people in those areas have money, and they also want to store their toys somewhere, right? Because normally the wife does not want that on their property, nor do they want it in front of their, if they have an HOA. So these are some really big things, you guys. If you want, or you're interested in buying your first facility, I always say, please, I'd love to have a conversation with you. Send me a text, you guys, to 916-597209, or DM me the word value. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to send you guys my free storage calculator, which is now, it's so cool. It's on a website, and you can actually print it out and get a PDF of the offer and send that offer to a broker or a seller. And then also I will send you my value add checklist for storage deals for free. So if you are interested, send me the DM with the name value or storage, and I will send that directly your way. But if you have any questions, please make sure to put it below. I want to do subjects. I come on here every single Wednesday at noon so that we can kind of discuss not only the storage industry, but what's going on right now with finding deals. How are we funding deals? How are we doing it creatively? And then how are we operating, right? To become a better self-storage owner and operator at the same time. So let me know if any other subjects are coming to mind. Love to break those down for you. Have a wonderful day, and I will talk to you soon.